my friends, and welcome to Big Bill Anderson's Life Tours. I've recently been watching several movies on my favorite television channel, Turner Classic Movies, with the film noir king Sterling Hayden starring in many of them. I've always admired this fine actor, not only as an actor, but he was an author, a sailor, a model, Marine, OSS agent, which is Office of Strategic Services, and a World War II hero. This man truly danced to the beat of his own drum. He never wanted to be an actor. He just wanted to be in the ocean as a skipper on ships. So here goes, my friends. I'll tell you the story of Sterling Hayden. He was a leading man for most of his acting career. He specialized in westerns and film noir throughout the 1950s. In films such as John Huston's The Asphalt Jungle in 1950, Joan Crawford's Johnny Guitar in 1954, and Stanley Kubrick's The Killing in 1956. He became noted for supporting roles in the 1960s, perhaps most notably as General Jack D. Ripper in Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb in 1964. Hayden's success continued into the new Hollywood era with roles such as the corrupt Irish-American policeman Captain McCluskey in Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather in 1972. A fantastic role that you might remember because of his punching the daylights out of Michael Corleone, played by Al Pacino, and later in the film being shot in the throat and forehead by Michael in a restaurant meeting. He also played alcoholic novelist Roger Wade in Robert Altman's The Long Goodbye in 1973 and elderly peasant Leo Dalco in Bernardo Bertucci's 1900 in 1976. With a distinctive rapid-fire baritone voice and standing at 6 feet 5 inches, he had a commanding screen presence in both leading and supporting roles. Sterling Walter Hayden was born Sterling Relia Walter Hayden on March 26, 1916, in Upper Montclair, New Jersey, to George and Frances Walter, who named him Sterling Relia Walter. After his father died, he was adopted at age 9 by James Hayden and renamed Sterling Walter Hayden. As a child, he lived in coastal towns of New England and in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., and Maine. Hayden dropped out of high school at age 16 and took a job as mate on a schooner. His first voyage was to Newport Beach, California, from New London, Connecticut. Later, he was a fisherman on the Grand Banks of Newfoundland. He ran a charter yacht and served as a fireman on 11 trips to Cuba aboard a steamer. He skippered a trading schooner in the Caribbean after earning his master's license. And in 1937, he served as mate on a world cruise of the schooner Yankee. After serving as a sailor and fireman on larger vessels and sailing around the world several times, he was awarded his first command at age 22, skippering the square rigger Florence C. Robinson, 7,700 miles from Gloucester, Massachusetts, to Tahiti in 1938. In 1938, Hayden's photo was taken during the annual Gloucester, Massachusetts Fisherman's Race. It went on the cover of a magazine, prompting Paramount Pictures to call and offer a screen test. Hayden did a test in New York with Jeannie Cagney, James Cagney's sister. In an interview, Hayden said, "I was completely lost, ignorant, nervous. But the next thing I know, Paramount made me a 7-year contract beginning at $250 a week, which was astronomical at the time. I got my lovely old mother and bought a car, and we drove to California. I was so lost then that I didn't think to analyze it. I said, this is nuts, but damned, it's pleasant. I had only one plan in mind, to get $5,000 together, and I knew there was a schooner and then I'd haul ass out of Hollywood. Hayden went to Paramount in May of 1940. Paramount dubbed the handsome actor the most beautiful man in the movies and the beautiful blonde Viking god. His first film, Virginian, in 1941, directed by Edward H. Griffith, starring Madeleine Carroll, whom he married. He, Griffith, and Carroll were reunited in Bahama Passage, also in 1941. In December of 41, it was reported that he had quit Hollywood, saying, "I'm no actor, I'm a sailor." After 2 film roles, he left Hollywood to fight in World War II. He enlisted in the Army, trained in Scotland, but broke his ankle and was let out. He returned to the U.S. and tried to buy a half interest in a schooner, but could not raise his part of the money. He joined the United States Marine Corps as a private under the name John Hamilton, an alias he never used otherwise. While at Parris Island, he was recommended for officer candidate school. After graduation, he was commissioned a second lieutenant and was transferred to service as an undercover agent with William J. Wild Bill Donovan's Office of the Coordinator of Information. He remained there after it became the Office of Strategic Services, OSS. As an OSS agent, John Hamilton, his World War II service included sailing with supplies from Italy to Yugoslavia with partisans and parachuting into the fascist Croatia. Hayden, who also participated in the Naples Foggia campaign and established aircrew rescue teams in enemy-occupied territory, became a first lieutenant on September 13, 1944, and a captain on February 14, 1945. He received the Silver Star for gallantry in action in the Balkans and Mediterranean. Lieutenant Hamilton displayed a great courage in making hazardous sea voyages in enemy-infested waters and reconnaissance through enemy-held areas. A bronze arrowhead device for parachuting behind enemy lines, and a recommendation from Yugoslavia's Josip Broz Tito. He left active duty on December 24, 1945. Tito awarded him the Order of Merit. In addition to these prestigious accomplishments, Sterling was awarded the American Campaign Medal, European, African, Middle Eastern Campaign Medal, and a World War II Victory Medal. He returned to the U.S. and told the press, "I feel a real obligation to make this a better country, and I believe the movies are the place to do it." Hayden returned to Paramount Studios. He was cast as one of several brothers in an aviation film, Blaze of Noon, in 1947. The studio suspended him when he turned down a role in The Sainted Sisters. Hayden's great admiration for the bravery of the communist partisans led to a brief membership in the Communist Party in 1946. He was apparently active in supporting an effort by the communist-controlled Motion Picture Painters Union to absorb other film industry unions. As the Red Scare deepened in the U.S., he cooperated with the House Un-American Activities Committee, confessing his belief, communist ties, and naming names. He later said, "The FBI made it very clear to me that if I became an unfriendly witness, I could damn well forget the custody of my children. I didn't want to go to jail. That was the other thing." Hayden had to testify publicly. He declared joining the party was the stupidest and most ignorant thing I have ever done in my life. He says he had to quit the party, but had been persuaded to return. His wife at the time, Betty DeNoon, insisted that the names her ex-husband provided were already in the hands of the committee, which had a copy of the Communist Party's membership list. In any event, Hayden subsequently repudiated his cooperation with the committee, stating in his autobiography, "I don't think you have the foggiest notion of the contempt I had for myself since the day I did that thing." Hayden made two films for Pine Thomas Productions, who distributed through Paramount: a Western, El Paso, in 1949, supporting John Payne, and Manhandled, 1949, a thriller with Dorothy Lamour. Hayden's career received a boost when he was cast by John Huston in the starring role of MGM's heist thriller, The Asphalt Jungle, 1950. This role was highly regarded critically and established Hayden as a leading man. He played a minister who doubts his faith in Journey into Light, 1952, then supported Bette Davis as the star in 1952. It was not a large success, but Flaming Feather, a Western, did well also in 1952. He followed it up with a series of action films: Denver and the Rio Grande, a Western for Paramount; Hellgate, another Western; The Golden Hawk, a pirate swashbuckler for producer Sam Katzman; Flat Top, and a Korean War drama, Fighter Attack, in 1953, a World War II film. In 1952, while divorcing his second wife, the court heard Hayden made $100,000 the previous year. Hayden then starred in So Big in 1953, a melodrama from an Edna Farber novel starring Jane Wyman. Then it was back to medium-budget action films: Take Me to Town, a Western with Ann Sheridan; Kansas Pacific, both in 1953, a Western for Walter Mirisch; and Crime Wave in 1954, a film noir. He had a support role in the big studio picture Prince Valiant in 1954, playing Sir Gawain, then returned to more conventional material with Arrow in the Dust. And Johnny Guitar in 1954 was another Western, but this time with Joan Crawford and Nick Ray. It was a hit and became a cult favorite. It was financed by Republic Pictures, which used Hayden on several occasions. There were some film noirs: Naked Alibi in 1954 with Gloria Graham, and Suddenly, 1954, with Frank Sinatra. Then it was action in Battle Taxi, 1954, a Korean War movie; Timberjack, 1955, Western for Republic; Shotgun, a Western with Yvonne DiCarlo; The Eternal Sea in 1955, a World War II naval story; Top Gun in 1955, a Western for producer Edward Small; The Last Command in 1955 was a story of the Alamo for Republic Pictures with Hayden as Jim Bowie. The Come On in 1956 was a film noir with Ann Baxter. Hayden also began appearing on TV shows such as Celebrity Playhouse. Hayden was cast in a heist film which turned out to be a classic, The Killing, in 1956, an early work from director Stanley Kubrick. He remained a B-picture star through several films in 1957 and 58, including Crime of Passion, 5 Steps to Danger, Valerie, 0 Hour, Gun Battle at Monterey, The Iron Sheriff, Terror in a Texas Town, and 10 Days to Tulare. He also worked a lot on television, appearing on such shows as Zane Grey Theater, Wagon Train, General Electric Theater, Schlitz Playhouse, Playhouse 90, Goodyear Theater, and the DuPont Show of the Month. Hayden often professed distaste for film acting, saying he did it mainly to pay for his ships and voyages. In 1958, after a bitter divorce from Betty Ann DeNoon, Hayden was awarded custody of his children. He defied a court order and sailed to Tahiti with all 4 children: Christian, Dana, Gretchen, and Matthew. "I've had it," he said. "One way or another, I felt that I had sold out or failed at almost everything in my life. It was either turn things around or hang myself." The crew sailed from the San Francisco Bay to Tahiti, where Hayden had planned to film a movie. Hayden also invited well-known photographer Dodie Weston Thompson along to document the trip and help shoot location choices. Her South Seas folio contains photographs of Hayden's schooner, the Wanderer, on-deck photos of life aboard the ship, colorful prints of his children, Tahitian women and children, and unique artifacts on shore. The film never materialized. However, according to Dodie's notes, U.S. Camera and Travel printed her photographs of paradise in 1961. Marin County Superior Court Judge Harold Haley later ordered Hayden to repay Republic Pictures nearly $50,000 to recover the cost of financing the trip. In 1960, he married Catherine Devine McConnell. They had two sons, Andrew and David, and were married until his death in 1986. McConnell also had a son, Scott McConnell, from her first marriage to Neil McConnell, an heir to Avon's founding family. In November of 1960, he said he was a sailor or writer rather than an actor. In the early 1960s, Hayden rented one of the pilot houses of the retired ferry boat Berkeley, docked in Sausalito, California, where he resided while writing his autobiography, Wanderer, which was first published in 1963. In it, he reminisces about the turning points in his life. The sun beats down and you pace, and you pace. Your mind flies free and you see yourself as an actor, condemned to a treadmill wherein men and women conspire to breathe life into a screenplay that allegedly depicts life as it was in the old Wild West. You see yourself coming awake any one of 1,000 mornings between the spring of 1954 and that of 1958, alone in a double bed in a big white house deep in suburban Sherman Oaks, not far from Hollywood. The windows are open wide, and beyond these in the backyard swimming pool, inert and green within a picket fence. You turn and gaze at a pair of desks not far from the double bed. This is your private office, the place that shelters your fondest hopes. These desks, so neat, patiently waiting for the day that never comes, the day you'll sit down at last and begin to write. Why did you never write? Why instead did you grovel along through the endless months and years as a motion picture actor? What held you to it, to do something so vehemently professed to despise? Could it be that you secretly liked it, that the big dough and the big house and the high life meant more than the horror you spun for those around you to see? Hayden's wild, they said. He's kind of nuts, but you've got to hand it to him. He doesn't give a damn about the loot or the stardom or things like that. Something to do with seafaring or maybe what he went through in the war. In 1964, Hayden appeared in A Carol for Another Christmas on TV. The same year, he played one of the best-known characters, the deranged General Jack D. Ripper, in the Kubrick-directed Dr. Strangelove. Hayden bought a canal barge in the Netherlands in 1969, eventually moving it to the heart of Paris and living on it part-time. He also shared a home in Wilton, Connecticut with his family and had an apartment in Sausalito, California. He returned to filmmaking with Hard Contract in 1969, supporting James Coburn, and the movie Loving in 1970. I'll go back to Hollywood to pick up $1, but that's all, he said. Everything is wrong in that city. Hayden went to Europe, where he appeared in several movies between 1970 and 1975. He was offered the role of Quint in Jaws in 1975, but turned it down. In the 1970s, after his appearance in The Godfather, he appeared several times on NBC's Tomorrow Show with Tom Snyder, where he talked about his career resurgence and how it had funded his travels and ventures around the world. He appeared on television shows Banachek and The Star Lost. He returned to Hollywood for King of Gypsies in 1978, Winter Kills in 79, The Outsider, 9 to 5, both in 1980. The movie Gas, the movie Venom, both in 1981, and The Blue and the Gray in 1982. In 1981, he was arrested for possession of hashish at Toronto International Airport. He pled no contest to the charges and was fined heavily, but served no jail time. Hayden wrote 2 acclaimed books, an autobiography, Wanderer, in 1962, and a novel, Voyage, in 1976. He says they made him a lot of money, but he lost most of it to government in taxes. In 1983, he appeared in a documentary of his life, Pharaohs of Chaos. Hayden was married 3 times, first to Madeline Carroll in 1942 to 1946, then Betty Ann Danoon, 1947 to 1958, and they had 4 children, Christian, Dana, Gretchen, and Matthew. And then third marriage to Catherine Devine McConnell from 1960 to 1986, and they had 2 children, Andrew and David. Sterling Hayden died of prostate cancer in Sausalito, California in 1986 at the age of 70. He was cremated and his ashes were spread in the San Francisco Bay, a place where he found his happiest moments. My friends, I hope you like this video. Sterling Hayden was by far not your conventional actor. He was an adventuresome man that loved to carve out his own unique way of living life. If you feel like sharing this video with your friends, I would appreciate it. Please subscribe to my channel if you have not done so as of yet. And please ring the notification bell for future notifications on when I upload videos. Thank you for taking time out of your hectic day to spend a few minutes with Big Bill Anderson's Life Tours. Please stay safe in these sometimes uncertain times, my friends. Adios, amigos.